Hello, hello. Live stream Wednesday. I have live streams 3 times a week in case you're new, just now tuning in. I have live stream on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. First hour is chat, second hour is Flintknapping. Keith is here already. Keefers. Hello, hello. So I'm just going to be checking for messages and stuff. Matthias Melander is here. Awesome. Matthias is from Denmark. Okay, so what do I have on the agenda? I've got some Flint Ridge. This has got a big crystal pocket, but I think this is going to work, and I think it's heat treat. We'll see, because it's kind of messed up. Let's see if I can get a light on it. It's a little bit messed up and kind of cracked and stuff, but I've got other chunks. Does that light work? No? Kind of, yeah. This one looks like it's better quality, but it's thicker, so the heat treat might have not gone all the way through. So this is going to be a challenge. I might start with this one first. But like I said, it'll be the second hour before I start napping. This one is kind of nasty too. So these were discount chunks. They did not cost me much. Okay, so I think this is what's typical of Flint Ridge. It's just kind of nasty, full of imperfections. And the good stuff is a lot of times slabbed and heat treated very carefully. All the stuff I've gotten from this Flint Ridge or Coshocton Knapping this time has been very well heat treated. So everyone is doing very good heat treats these days. When I first started, the heat treats weren't that great in some cases. Now it's very rare to find a bad heat treat. Let's see. Matthias says, I received your package and it's all great. Awesome. I've got some more to send to you, Matthias. Let's see. Hold on. I'll show you what I'm going to send you. That package didn't have many rods. I don't remember. I'm going to send you these also. This one's aluminum. I think it's 5/16. This one's a 3/8 inch rod by 12-inch long. And this one's 5/16 by 12 inches long. And I'm going to send you these two that were gifted to me. They are a harder copper. I tried them out. They work well, but I'm not really working the tough stuff anymore. Well, not recently. Probably not anymore. I'm going to heat treat all my nasty stuff. And if it doesn't work out, I'm not going to be napping really, really hard materials. This is good for hard, raw material because these are harder copper as far as the alloy goes. And they've got 2 different diameters. You can do whatever you want with them. Hopefully, you'll be able to demonstrate how they work for you. I've napped with these a couple times. Okay. So what else we got? Mac Bales is here. Alan Cole is here. Southern Illinois Adventures. Hello, hello. Alina is here from Kazakhstan. Smallzilla Harley is here. Howdy, howdy. Mac Bales says, most Flint Ridge I have tried has been crackly with lots of crystal pockets. Yeah, it's very true. Alina says, Patrick, I've sent you an email last week. Take a look, please, when you have a minute. Yeah, I've been forgetting to ask the post office if they are able to work with those finance choices that you gave me for the delivery options that you have. I don't think we're going to be able to work with those delivery options, but I'm not sure. I have to talk to the manager over at the post office. But right now, I don't think I don't think they know about your delivery options or your mail options, but we'll see. That's why I haven't responded yet, because I haven't found out the details. Sorry about that. Sorry it's taking me so long, Alina. Jim Cooper's here. Let's see. I might have to do a private company like FedEx. Yeah, you might have to do a private company like FedEx. We'll see, though. The post office might have an arrangement with those delivery options you have in Kazakhstan. But like I said, I've got to talk to a manager, because the regular clerks, they don't know, and they don't know what to look up. But yeah, I'm going to go to the post office today. Right after the live stream, I've got some deliveries, so I'm going to the post office today, and I'll ask. I'll make sure I'll ask this time. I was there yesterday, but I was asking about something else, and I forgot about Kazakhstan. Let's see. Matthias Melander says, very nice. I made a nice blade today. First time using the copper rod you sent. Awesome. It worked very well. Well, good. Lena says, well, our main post delivery would work, although it takes time. Yeah, but that's okay if it takes a long time. We'll probably just have to go with that option, the one that takes the longest. Jim Cooper says, today is a day for me. If I get the green light from the doc, I'll be able to start and put weight on my hip. Awesome. Clint Stoner, hello. Stidley Designs, hey. Everyone's a little bit early. Still not 2 p.m. yet. 2 p.m. Eastern. It's still not time yet, but it's fine. Fine. Let's work with the lighting a little bit. Yes, I've got lighting everywhere. Let me count. One, this one here. 2, 3, 4, 5 lights. So, and it still doesn't look exactly like it should. And if 6 if you count the Christmas tree. 7 if you count the sign here. But anyway, I'm looking forward. I got a message from the person I bought the camera from. They've already sent it. Yeah, extra specially well packaged too. So eBay is not all bad, and hopefully that'll be arriving soon. And then I'll be able to mess with the new camera. How's the weather there? My weather is getting really nice. Yeah, it's like 40s and 50s at night and 70s during the day, with up sometimes at 80 degrees, but not more than 80 degrees. Yeah, it'll at the peak during the day, it'll get close to 80, but most of the time it's like in the morning. It was like 62 when I was outside doing some stuff. Yeah, it was nice. This is a perfect time, September, October, I think. And then in the spring, it's April and May. But spring is all muddy. It's all wet and muddy. And I don't like going out in the springtime out on the trails and stuff, because it's all nasty. And there's still some snow left in some areas. The summer months are not bad, though. June, July, August. May, June, July, August. They're not too bad. Alina says, okay, thumbs up. CYA, a long day. Eyes are closing. See you later. Okay. Thank you for showing up in a live stream. Have a good night. Jim Cooper says, also, I was able to hobble around that rock sale a bit and got some obsidian and got the guy's number, so I'll be able to get more from him when I finish healing up. Sweet. Daniel Badolato, hello. Have you been on the live stream before? I don't remember. Let's see. Ralph Snyder's here. Yahoo. Okay, let's see. Yeah, so let's see. Do I have any new messages, new emails? I got lots of emails, but from you guys, I don't know. Let me see. Matthew is going to send me some stuff. Silicified limestone. Yeah, so I'm going to receive some silicified limestone, which should be interesting. I've got a lot of stuff. I'm almost done sorting all my materials. I got a lot of stuff to nap as rock challenges, and my rock challenges will all be tutorials. Okay? Let's see. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Okay, I did get a reply from Bradley. I don't see Bradley in the chat very much. But yeah, I'm still looking for arrow shafts for Bradley. A friend of mine. He's looking for arrow shoots from the West Coast. I just sent him some more viburnum that we have around here. I sent him my last good batch. And I need to gather some more of this fall. As soon as the frost kills most of the ticks, I'm going to go out again and get more viburnum. Hopefully there'll be a little bit of ice and snow on the ground early, because I don't want to be trying to gather the viburnum in February like I did last time, because I want them to dry longer. I want the viburnum to dry for at least 6 months before I start working with it. Last year, it was warm, right? I couldn't go out on the ponds and swamps to gather viburnum because it wasn't iced over enough. I want it to freeze over. Hey, Sal's in the house. Hey. So Daniel's new. Harley's here. Hey, had a question for you, Patrick. I've been trying to work on Eden and Scottsbluff points, and I'm struggling a bit. When should I go from indirect to pressure flaking? I seem to thin stuff out too much. Watch the ratio. I think on my Scottsbluffs and Edens, the preform is 3-to-1 with the thickness ratio. And then you can use either indirect percussion or pressure. I seem to be using more indirect percussion than pressure on the Scottsbluffs. The Edens, you can use mostly pressure. Yeah. And you got to narrow them down, and it's like a 3-to-1 width to thickness ratio, nice and smooth. I'm thinking, well, I wish I could grind them down and do the flake over grind on the Scottsbluffs type stuff, so I can practice on the flaking, the final flaking, instead of spending an hour and a half just getting the preform ready. Yeah. See, on the Scottsbluffs and Edens, it takes me an hour and a half just to get the preform perfect, which you need to have it perfect. Sometimes an hour, depending on the material. If it's cooperative, it doesn't take me that long. And obsidian doesn't take that long either. But on some of the stuff, like if I want to be very careful, especially with the Knife River Flint, it takes me an hour and a half to get the preform done. And then another hour to do the flaking. John Turner says, hey. So to answer your question, Harley, it's up to you. I mean, there's no good transition point between pressure and percussion. So my recommendation is either start and finish with one or the other. Yeah, you can finish the major flaking or the pattern flaking or the parallel flaking or the what they call the collateral flaking with percussion or pressure, right? But if you do it with percussion, you do need to finish up the edge with pressure. Very light little bitty flakes. You want a little serpentine edge as well. You don't want a straight edge on, especially the Edens, I think. So you do little bitty flakes to touch up. So you don't want to take out that serpentine edge on those. Yeah, I do mostly indirect percussion on my Cody points. It's like 80% indirect percussion. Yeah. Daniel Badolato says, I usually don't comment, but I'm usually watching. All right, cool. Ralph Snyder says, hey, hello, Jim. Yeah, say hi to everybody. Jim, Alina, Sal, Clint, Mac, Harley, Keith, Matthias. Let's see. Mikael says, question, any difference in using hard or soft wood in the boppers? I usually use oak. I don't see much difference in the boppers. For the handles in the boppers, if you use hard or soft wood, oak is fine. Yep. What material is on the menu for this afternoon? I believe this is heat-treated Flint Ridge, but it's a lesser quality, lesser grade. It's full of imperfections. So these are challenge pieces. Now I've got 3 of them. Just in case one of them snaps in half, I want to try to keep as much of the material as possible for what I'm working on today. Maximize the length on it. So that's why I've got 3. I'm probably going to start with the worst one. I don't know if this is the worst one. It's Flint Ridge, right? But it's heat treat. I don't know if that's the worst one or this one is the worst one. This one's not too bad. It looks like it's going to work. It still has inclusions, crystal pockets, and it's got cracks, and it's got some cortex or original surface on it, which is unpredictable, and it's got nasty cracks. But this one looks like I can preserve the length the easiest. This one might be chunky, but it's got crystal pockets. These might go all the way through because it's on this side too. So it might, under this turtleback, there might be a bunch of crystal pockets in there going all the way through there. So we'll see how it works. You can see the crystal reflections right there. It's not too bad looking on this side, but it does have a lot of slight imperfections. Anyway, heat-treated Flint Ridge is on the menu. Mike Tuft is making a set of oak tools for someone. It's beautiful, says Ralph. Awesome. As challenging as they look, they sure are pretty material. Yes, yes. Harley says, Patrick, some good advice. Thank you. I've had a few all right Scotties, but Edens are kicking my butt. I have trouble not thinning those things. Once you learn how to thin it, it gets hard not to. Yeah, funny, right? Yeah. But it also gets thin as you remove obstacles. So you've got to have not many obstacles and still remain thick. When you have an obstacle like a imperfection or a step fracture, you want to remove it. You have to remove it. But in the process of removing the obstacles, it gets thinner. That's the challenge. You've got to start from the very beginning, keeping it thick. It's a different mindset. Cody's are the Cody complex points. I think it's safe to say that it's a completely different mindset from everything else, from Folsom, from Clovis, from our early archaic, late archaic. I shouldn't say late archaic, but all the points within that time period, paleo all the way up through early archaic. The Codys are very unique. They don't resemble anything in shape or manufacture. They are a pain in the butt. And I think what they were doing is they just stayed with that one design for hundreds of years. It wasn't something new that came in, went fast like Clovis. Let's see. Matthias says the auction starts and ends later now. No, it just starts later, ends the same. So it starts at 6 now, but it ends it's going to always end at 9 p.m. Eastern. Yep. Yeah, if I end it any later than 9 p.m. Eastern, I end up staying up way too late. And I mess up my schedule for shipping on Tuesday because then I want to sleep in too long. What is that? Budacat? How's it going? I don't remember you in the chat very much. Let's see. Hardy says, Patrick, I used to drink the Kool-Aid when it came to Clovis points being made mostly from percussion. Ever since I allowed myself to start doing pressure flaking, I've had far more successful points. Awesome. Yep. Ralph says, Harley, have you seen the Eden Point from Beaverhead, Colorado? No, Beaverhead Company, Montana. Pete from Lithics Casting Lab sells casts of it. Tom Brown is in the house. Hello, all. Yeah, if you're new, let us know where you're from. That way we can either tell you where there's a nap-in nearby, or maybe some of these guys live near you. You can start exchanging stones and stuff, as an example. Yeah. Don't feel like you can't chat with people in the chat. I'm here to answer questions and talk in live time, or in live time. But you can talk to people in the chat too. Ask them questions too. And you'll hopefully get answers fast. So, the Cody point, I got burnt out on doing those. I'm taking a break. I wasn't going to take a break. I was just going to go straight. No matter what I had to ignore, either requests for challenge rocks and side projects and all that, I was going to be just strictly doing the Cody points until I got enough practice to be satisfied with the result. But I got burnt out because they're a completely different mindset. And all that stuff that I was supposed to be doing that was not Cody stuff got built up and backlogged because I was focusing on Cody. It's a totally different mindset. It's not something I can integrate in with all my other napping. I can integrate Clovis somewhat and into my napping because it's not that different. The only thing different with Clovis is the base thinning. The thinning from the base. Heavy amount of practice thinning from the base. That's Clovis. Everything else is the same as everything else. But as far as Cody points, I haven't found any other points that are in that same boat unless you count first view and that kind of thing. I think first view is also now classified under the Cody complex. And some of them are really small in the Cody complex. They're not all long Scotts Bluffs or long Edens. Some of them are short, like 2 inches. Those are much easier to generate, but they still are a total different mindset. Glenn Sheets, hello everyone from Oklahoma. Awesome. Harley says, Ralph, I have seen that cast. I don't know what those nappers were smoking, but I need some of it. The persnickettiness needed to make something like that is just mind-blowing. Yeah. It's OCD. It's not mind-blowing. It's mind-crippling. Yeah. Fox 3, hey. Is that a Christmas tree? Yeah, it's my Christmas tree. It's my Christmas tree, but there's no ornaments except one from Mike Tufts right here. I'm going to start putting arrowheads on there. I've got these little lights. Got these little lights in the mail. Fox 3 is Marco. His name's Marco, by the way. Good to see you, Marco. He's from near London, England. I don't know exactly where. Let's see. I think these are. Are they 2 parts? Okay, yeah. See these little lights? They got little batteries in them, but I can mount them behind the arrowheads so they light up the arrowheads. See, they're just little bitty lights. These are the batteries. Yeah. And I guess you just pull out that little paper thing and it lights up. Okay, so these unscrew. They're like little miniature flashlights. They're used for doll houses and dioramas. So I said, yeah, I can do that. So I'm going to make some ornaments with these to light up the arrowheads. Let's see. Harley says, here's a question, Patrick. Any points I can make out of my failed Edens and Scotties? I got a handful, and I'm not sure what to do with them since they're so narrow. I feel bad wasting them. It depends on the length. Yeah. There's a point called Avonlea. 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 That have persnickety napping, and it's an actual true arrow point, I believe, from Northern Plains area. Same area as Scotts Bluffs and stuff. You can make Avonlea points out of those. But you can put side notches on them and thin out the stem, and they'll match something in the archaeological record from that area. Clint Stoner, hey guys, in your opinion, what is the absolute worst material to work? Why do you want to know what the worst material is? Keith, Keepers, wonder if he could turn them into drill bits. Oh yeah, I could do drill bits. AA Ron is here. Howdy, Flake Flickers. Yeah, let's see. The absolute worst material to work, the absolute worst material that I have ever encountered, besides stuff that's all broken up, and there's many varieties of all broken up and cracked stuff. Setting those aside, the hardest stuff I've ever had to work was it's probably a tie between several different things. I'm trying to think about the worst one. Somebody sent me, and I don't even remember what it's called anymore, but anything in the rhyolite class, low-grade rhyolite, there's high-grade rhyolite that's not too bad. So I like, it's so, these questions are so complicated because there's a big range in each type of stone. Low-grade rhyolite is probably the worst. I use low-grade rhyolite to make pressure flakers out of. If I get a thin flake, I'll put a point on it, and I can use it as a pressure flaker, that low-grade rhyolite stuff. And then on the other side of the types of rocks, the quartzites, many of the quartzites are terrible. They're not formed in the same way as rhyolite because rhyolite's volcanic. Quartzite is metamorphic, I think. So quartzites and rhyolites, basically stuff you find in North Carolina, is the worst stuff. Wait a second, I live in North Carolina. Are you talking smack about North Carolina? Yeah, I'm talking smack about you. Ralph Snyder says the worst stuff is non-heat treated Flint Ridge. Yeah. Some of the non-heat treated agates that you get from Indonesia and South America are terrible in a raw state. And the stuff you buy at Hobby Lobby for aquarium decorations, they have slabs of agates. If you don't heat those are terrible to nap too. Wait a second, you can buy
slabs of agate at Hobby Lobby? I go to Hobby Lobby every weekend. I never seen it.
Just go into the place where you find the aquarium decorations, little section of the store. And they'll have them hanging up in little bags. And if you're Hobby Lobby or Michaels, I think Michaels might also carry it. If you're in a lame store, you can go online. It's either Hobby Lobby or Michaels that has the slabs of agate. Now, most of them are going to be tiny, but they also sell larger slabs. But they're not going to be more than 3 inches wide or long. But it's good to get used to how to heat treat and stuff, although they require the maximum amount of heat, 450 to 500 degrees for at least 2 hours. I heat those for 4 hours. Some of them will turn from blue to purple. Some of them will actually lose their color. So that it look nice and red and orange or something. Sometimes when you heat them up, they lose their color. So you never know what you're going to get with those. But they do heat treat. And you can go to the store and buy it. Yeah, it's expensive. Probably more expensive than going to a Knapping and buying slabs. But hey, some people, all they got around them is nothing but city, urban environment for miles and miles and miles. They can travel 2 hours this way. They're still in the city, 2 hours that way, still in the city. There's no nature. There's no Knappings. There's no rock sellers to speak of, but there's Hobby Lobbies and Michaels. Jesse says, hey, guys, sorry. I was at the office today. I'll be in and out. Just wanted to say hi. Hello, hello. Clint Stoner says, for me, the worst so far has been quartzite. Yeah, John Stone is a good contender, but it naps a lot better than quartzite on the low grade side. There's high grade quartzites. So when you see something, all of you guys know this already, but if you're new, if we talk about a stone, there is always, 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 always a range of quality. So never take a statement about a type of stone to apply to that entire range on that stone. Okay? As soon as you start bad mouthing quartzite, there's a guy that's watching or somebody out there that'll say,
no, I got quartzite that's beautiful. It's like the best stuff I've ever napped, and I'll never stop napping it because I'm in love with it.
Okay, so there's a range of stuff.
Just because you badmouth the quartzite doesn't mean I'm stopping napping it and I'm not weird.
Yeah. There are guys like that out there, and there's quartzites that are wonderfully beautiful. Sometimes you can find high-grade Tallahassee quartzite, for example, and there's others. I'm trying to think of that one that I can never remember. It's not Tallahassee, it's something else. Anyway, you can also heat treat quartzites, and it'll become better. With rhyolite, you can't heat that stuff. It's already been heated. It's a volcanic. And some of the basalt, low-grade basalt and low-grade rhyolite are absolutely terrible to nap. They can be napped in the higher grades. But basalt and rhyolite cannot be heat treated to make them better. I've had guys say, I've been heat treating my rhyolite and nothing happens. I'm miserable because I can just go down the street and get 500 pounds of rhyolite. That's just the way it goes, man. I mean, I can go down the street and get 500 pounds of quartzite and argillite, but it's miserable. I can add argillite to that misery stone classifications, but there's a range in argillites. Some argillites are not that bad. They've got layers, and most of that argillite, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, they have layers, but some of it's not too bad, and you can work with those layers and actually nap through them because it's not that bad. But most of the argillite we have here, and we got tons of it, cannot be napped well. You can nap stuff out of it, but what I would use it for, if I had nothing else, is just for scrapers and digging tools and stuff like that. Not for projectile points. I'd rather use bone over argillite or quartzite or whatever we have around here, even slate. I would rather use bone over all the stuff we have here, in my opinion. It's all nasty around here in Vermont. I'm in Vermont, in case you don't know. So I'm in the same boat as you guys from North Carolina. Okay, so I got nothing. Now, there are pockets of places that have some good stuff, just like in North Carolina. There are some places where some guy will say, yeah, well, hey, what do you mean? I live like 5 miles from a deposit of jasper that's sweet. So stop talking about North Carolina like you don't know what you're talking about. I know. We got pockets of sweet jasper and other types of chert here in Vermont, but you got to know exactly where to go, and they're usually small pieces. And it's usually in places where you're not allowed to pick up stone. Harley says, Patrick, my first ever complete projectile point artifact I found was an Avonlea. I'm quite a fan of the style. It's simple but beautiful. I could try for a drill too. Good suggestions all around. All right, cool. There you go. It's fun when we're on the same sheet of music. Let's see. Jesse says, I had a quartzite that flaked fine, but so brittle you could snap it in half with your fingers. Yeah. There's some stone that will do that. Yeah. Rainy buttes sometimes will, you can, if you get it thin enough, you can snap it with your fingers. What was I napping the other day I could do that with? I don't remember. I napped so many different types of stone. I'm thinking that brickite was also finger snappable. Finger snaps. Sounds almost like a cookie. Yeah, snaps like a cookie. Finger snap flint. No. Oh, I found out that brickite is a man-made material. Yeah. It's they use it to make bricks, or they made bricks out of that stuff, or maybe tiles. Okay, Hobby Lobby now sells diamond files larger than Harbor Freight's for $6.95, says Mac Bales. Awesome. I bought some more files now that you mention it. I bought some more files online off of Amazon because the other ones I've ordered were terrible. Now, hopefully these will last longer than the other ones. But if not, I'm going to have to go back to Harbor Freight or even Hobby Lobby. See, these are flat. Hopefully these are good and they don't wear out fast. The other ones were round and immediately they just lost all the grit. I bought a lot, so hopefully it's not going to be bad. I'll be using those today. So I didn't know that Hobby Lobby sells larger files. That's good to know. Clint Stoner says, my local Woohoo crystal shop has bloodstone slabs, nice obsidian spalls, baseball-sized chunks of landscape jasper, polychrome jasper, and yellow jasper. Decently priced, too. Well, there you go. You are lucky. Wherever I have lived, the rock shops have been lame. Yeah. Here included. Except if for one place where the owner took me to the storage area out back, and he had some good stuff back there. But he was doing the slab thing and making polished pieces for jewelries and stuff like that. He didn't display the big stuff because he was slabbing all that. But he had, I think I told the story before, he had a ton of elebates that he got a while ago from somebody. It's funny that you say a Woohoo crystal shop. What does that mean? Is that the Woohoo crystal shop? Does they sell other things besides crystals? Southern Illinois Adventures. I have an old cracked wood stove. Do you think if I packed it with stone and built a fire around it, it would work for heat treatment? I wouldn't go through that much trouble. I would just put it in the kitchen oven. But yeah, it'd work. As long as you have one of those temperature gauges screwed into it. Yeah, drill a hole and put a temperature gauge. As long as you keep an eye on the temperature, everything will work. Yeah. The temperature is the main thing. How you get there is up to you. And it has to be steady. You can't have breezes and drafts blowing through. So don't be saying, oh, I'm going to use my old wood stove. So I'm going to put it on a hill, clear all the trees out of there, and then start a fire and see how it works. No, it has to be shielded from wind and drafts. If you go to your hill, cut the trees down around it for fire safety, and set it right in the middle of a clearing, and then build a fire, you're asking for trouble because you're going to have drafts. Okay, just a fair warning. How do I know? I don't know. Let's see. Jim Cooper says Hickston is the one I was looking for. Yeah, silicified sandstone and Spanish diggings in Wyoming are examples of high-grade quartzite. Yes, you're right. Usually, ortho quartzite is good knapping, and it's actually glued with silica versus metaquartzite, which is metamorphic and usually crappy. Yeah, very good. I'm glad you said that, or I'm glad that you added that information because I had forgotten. Ortho quartzite and Hickston. I don't know why I can't remember the name Hickston. Maybe I can't associate it with something else. If I tag on something that rhymes with Hickston, what rhymes with Hickston? I can't think of anything that rhymes with Hickston. So I can remember it. I always forget. With Tallahassee, it's easy to say,
What's the matter? Use Tallahassee.
Something like that. Let's see. Ralph Snyder says, Killer Cork and I are having trouble knapping dacite, grainy, and snap and halfish. Yeah, welcome. Welcome to the Snap and Halfish Aholics Anonymous. Yeah. I still nap a lot of snap and halfish stuff. And that buttery obsidian, that black butter obsidian is snap and halfish stuff, but I still like it. I'm a member of Snap and Halfish Aholics Anonymous. Yeah. Hello, my name is Patrick. I have a problem. And I'm a Snap and Halfish Aholic. Keith says, now here's a question. I have some bricks at work that are harder than some. I wonder if you could actually nap brick. I would try it because if it has a lot of clay content, you might be able to nap it. I mean, a lot of clay content. Sometimes you can nap clay tiles, and you can sometimes nap clay pottery, but it depends on how they fired it. If it starts to grade into the higher temperatures, it becomes almost like porcelain, because you can nap porcelain. But if it becomes if it's a high grade pottery, you can nap it. Yeah. And just if your wife or significant other is into pottery and collecting pots for plants, or she's into gardening or whatever, don't let her catch you breaking some of the pots on purpose. How do I know? I don't know. Let's see. Sorry, I'm going to wear my glasses because my eyes are already getting old. Tom Brown says, I'm headed to North Dakota. Are there any public areas a man can gather stone? Yeah, but it's going to be something that no one will tell you about. In case you don't know, if there's people watching, we got 23 people. If you don't know this, as soon as we tell people where to find stone that's publicly available, there's always some rock hound who's very enterprising that'll pull up with his big truck and trailer and take it all, whether he's going to nap it, sell it, or not. Because what do these rock hounds have as their main philosophy? Better to have it than not. They'll take it all. If it can be sold for $1 a pound, they're like, whoo, yeah. Some of it can be sold for $4 a pound. But if it can be sold for $1 a pound, they do the math. That's still a good deal, man. I'll get 2,000 pounds. And even if I don't sell it all, still that pays for gas plus my time. I'll do it. And they take it all. So we're not going to tell you where to find it. You'll have to get together with some buddies in that area and keep it to yourselves so that some enterprising rock hound doesn't find out about this and pull up and take it all. Okay? In case you don't know, and I'll probably have to make a separate video for that particular explanation because people still don't get it. We cannot tell you where to find the stone because it'll be gone. And sometimes gone before you get there. Yeah. I've seen a rock hound take stone the same day it was announced, and it was gone within 2 hours, and it was a lot of stone. I would say in excess of 1,000 pounds. And all that was left was little chippings because he had chipped to see which ones are good. That's it. And all because a friend told him. They remind me of tow truck drivers. Okay? They have radar for cars that are stalled out, and they listen in on, I guess, police reports or the what do they call that? They have a way of listening in on accidents. It's like a scanner. That's what it is. And they'll be right on the scene of an accident right away. Well, that's the same mentality that the rock hounds use to pick up our nappables. Yeah. I'm not bad-mouthing them, in case you may be wondering. No, it's fine. You can go get it. But we're not going to tell you anymore because we learned our lesson. Yeah, well, at least I did. I'm not going to tell you. I want to be able to go back to some of those sweet spots eventually and get some more, even if they're just little pieces. At least there's something there. Let's see. Hobby Lobby files have red handles like the ones you showed, said Mac Bales. Cool. Let's see. Clint Stoner says, I'm also in Michigan. All right. Jim Cooper says, some people think rocks and crystals have metaphysical or spiritual properties. Probably what he meant by woo-hoo. Woo-woo. Oh, okay. Yeah, my mother was a crystal lady. She thought that the crystals had special properties. I know exactly what you're talking about. Jim Cooper clicks on the closest I could think of. I don't know. Hey, Super Chat, $4.99. Who was responsible? Hey, Marty, Buckskin NYB. I missed your entrance. I'm behind on the chat. Thank you. Let's see. What rhymes with Hickston? Clicks on rhymes with Hickston. Yeah, kind of, sort of. Let's see. I'm looking for new comments and questions. Let's see. Buckskin NYB or Marty says, Tom Brown, I collect rock around the shores of Lake. I don't even know how to pronounce that. Sakakavia. Don't tell everybody, Marty, because believe it or not, there are listeners, lurkers and listeners who will pull up with their big old trucks, and they'll even invest in new equipment just because they found a nice spot. Yes, they will. I mean, they heard news of a nice spot. They'll go check it out. They'll spend a whole day and they'll drive 16 hours each way and not sleep for 24 hours or 36 hours just to check out a spot. And if it's good, they'll buy equipment to go gather it. So, jackhammers, a new trailer, brand new tires, extra tires in case they run into some chips or whatever. They'll do it. So be careful who you tell. It's getting to be that way in the U.S. It's been that way a long time in Texas where I was. So if you ask me how I know, that's how I know. And nowadays in Texas, if you try to gather from a free spot, there's always 4 people watching you, no matter where it is. Yeah. There's a lot of flint and chert in Texas. And there's still some available in spots that you can get for free. But it's getting to the point where it's very rare. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Ed Gould says, I think I heard on Jake's channel that Jeff told him it was going for about $8 a pound for the Flint River, right? No, not Flint River. Knife River Flint. That stuff, someone, a rock hound, if a rock hound finds out where you're gathering it and he has access, watch out, because he will invest in a brand new truck, brand new trailer, jackhammers, and hire a crew of 5 guys to go get it all. Okay, so watch out. You heard it here, folks. Let's see. Ralph says, Clint, we could plan some napping with you at Pontiac State Park or Algonac State Park. I can let Patrick give out my contact info. Okay, yeah. Just send me an email reminder that I can give your contact info to so and so and so and so. I won't remember from the chat. I mean, I could take a picture, but then I lose the picture. Have I done that before? I took a picture and I go, I don't know why did I take this picture? It's just a comment section. And I delete it. And I go, wait a second. Trying to clean up my pictures and I end up deleting stuff. Ed Gould says, I think most states' river bottoms are open to collecting. Yeah, most, if you are a boater, kayaker, then yeah, I would use that to go look for rocks. Yes, indeed. That's probably the best way to, other than checking out the landscape supply yards in your area. You go to the waterways and make sure when you get out of your boat, you're not stepping on private property, like you're in the middle on a sandbar or whatever they call them. You got to watch out you don't trespass when you're boating. The river itself is public access. In the bottom of the river, in most cases, public access. And if it's shallow, you can see the rocks and stuff. But as soon as you step on dry land, you may be on private property. And they'll take a snapshot of you in your boat and inform, whoever the authorities are, and they will mail you a ticket. Yeah. How do I know? I don't know. Luckily, I've never gotten caught, and I've never gone rock collecting from a boat. Yeah. I have been caught taking rocks from public areas, caught, so to speak. The officers just come around and ask what's going on, because they're wondering if you're burying a body or something. I don't know what. And I said, no, I'm just collecting rocks. That's okay. I never gotten a ticket for collecting rocks, but people will call the authorities and they'll take pictures and stuff. It's just a warning if you're out doing that stuff. I don't want anyone to get into trouble. Let's see. Ralph Snyder says the Charity Island boat trip. What is that? In West Virginia, waterways are public up to the highest floodplain. Oh, okay, that helps. Yeah, that helps. West Virginia, cool. What do they have up there in West Virginia for stone other than Kanawha black and some other stuff similar to that? I think Kanawha comes in gray and black, right? So I don't know. But yeah, it's good to know. Some places you can go further up on the shore. But like in Texas, and I think here also, as soon as you step on dry land, you're probably on private property. And you're not supposed to. As long as you're in the water, you're fine. Buckskin NYB says, okay, thanks for the heads up, Patrick. Yeah, don't reveal your exact spots, because we want that material for nappers. Yeah, and for free, right? Finders keepers, tellers weepers. Don't tell. Let's see. I'm going to start napping here in about 12 minutes. So if you have questions, ask them before I start napping. I have my sunglasses on because I don't want my eyes to get sore. They're already starting to get sore. I've got too many lights on, probably. Yeah, I need that one. Anyways, let's see, what else can I think of in the meantime. I gotta put these away. Yeah, I've noticed a lot of new rock sellers in the past couple of years, which is good, right? But that means that they're listening in on our conversations about where to find stone. I bet you. Oh, the super chat, Jesse. Yes, it did work. Skunk treats, $5. Thank you very much. I forgot to mention that. I do see it. Thank you, Jesse. Yep. Mac Bale says West Virginia, Kanawha Black, Hughes River, also known as Brush Creek, Huntersville Church, Hinsdale Church, Ohio River Cobbles. Awesome. There you go. So yeah, the skunk treats. You want to know what I feed the skunks? Let's see. I know you did not ask that question, but I'm going to show you anyway. Just in case you want to start attracting skunks, I'm able to feed them now by hand. At least two of them are. They'll take these Nature Valley Crunchy oats and honey granola bars. This is the cheapest. Luckily, it's the cheapest granola bars at the store, and sometimes they're on sale. And then I get senior discount. I guess seniors are supposed to eat granolas. I don't eat any of this stuff. This is nasty. But the skunks love it so much that now I can actually hold it out and they'll come and grab it. Whereas before they would just look at me going, dude, this is not a zoo. Drop it. So I drop it and then they'll eat it. But now I guess if they consider me a non-threat, they'll actually take it out of my hand. And I think it's cool. But I don't recommend doing that a lot because they do carry rabies, right? So I just tried it and see if he would do it. And I forget which one it was. I think it was one of Jumpy's babies. The young ones seem to be more interactive with humans, right? So one of Jumpy's babies got that close. Two of them did. And I was able to feed by hand, but I'm not going to do that anymore. But they'll get addicted to this stuff, and the squirrels like it too. Yeah, so I can just say, "Hey, squirrely, how's it going?" And they'll jump up near me, and I can just toss it to them. So they all like that stuff. Why do I do that? I don't know. Maybe I'm bored. I don't know. Let's see. Ed Gould says, in Colorado, it's hard to find parking you don't have to pay for. Yeah, it's getting that way everywhere. Luckily here in New England, there's still a lot of parks that are free, but they're not open in winter. That's what got me all upset when I first got here. I said, I want to do some winter camping, and I can't do it. I can't do it in my backyard. Everything's in the backyard. I want to go into nature and do camping. But there's all the campsites that are, public for free are closed in winter. They close the gate. I mean, you can go around the gate, I suppose. And no one's going to check on you as long as you're very low profile, I suppose. There are some places that say they don't mind that you go winter camping. It's just not recommended because you can get snowed in, and they're not going to come rescue you. And if they just don't want the liability, I suppose. Yeah, these are the skunk treats. If you give me money for skunk treats, that's what I buy. The Nature Valley oats and honey granola bars. Yeah, and I get a senior discount. So I still think that's funny. I'm 62 years old, so I'm just now qualifying for this kind of stuff. It's funny. The restrooms are closed in winter yet, but some of the when I lived in Indiana for a job, I lived on a campsite. The restrooms were closed. However, if the water pipes were not frozen, you could still use them. It just didn't have hot water. And yeah, I took cold showers in winter there a couple times. More than a couple times. Yeah. Some of the parks will keep the restrooms open. They just you can't use the toilets. Yeah, but they still have running water sometimes. Anyways, how do I know that? I don't know. I mean, if I can save money and live like a homeless person, I'll live like a homeless person. Jesse says, those are like $15 at the Costco for the big box. They're getting expensive. Yeah, well, the big box didn't cost me that much last time I got one. Did I get it at Walmart? I don't know, but I got a big box last time too. It wasn't $15 though; it was less than that. Yeah, use a Ed Gould says use 5-gallon restroom. Yeah, I've done that. I've even got one of those seats that fits right on top of the 5-gallon restroom. Yeah, it's instead of a lid for the 5-gallon bucket, it's a toilet seat that snaps onto the 5-gallon bucket. Yeah. You just use cat litter in there. Yeah, you put a bag. I want to explain it. I don't know why. You put a plastic bag and then fill it with cat litter, maybe a couple inches, and then snap that little toilet lid on top of the bucket, and there you go. It's even got a little handle you can carry around with you. Yeah. And then you can just dump it. Yep. National forests are more lenient as far as winter camping, says Mac Bales. Yeah. Right. National forests. But state forests, they got a lot of state forests here in New England. They don't like it as much. Lee Steinmeier's here. A lot more sugar in those bars than grubworms. Probably give them diabetes. Well, yeah, that's true. These are not good for the older skunks. But the little ones need the sugar. So that's what I've been giving the little ones. Although the big ones sometimes bully, like Mangy Tail, the big male we have, he'll bully them. If he sees them eating a piece of granola bar, he'll just go mosey on over and just push them out of the way. And they'll fuss, they'll squeak and fuss, but he'll still get in there and take it from him. So I don't feed them the granola when there's a big skunk around. Jesse says, Patrick, did you see the native float copper billet? Now people they can't say natives didn't use copper. It works. Yeah, I've been saying that for a while. I know about the copper culture. I knew about it for a while. I didn't say anything. I just watched the antler people make fool out of themselves and kind of chuckled under, without saying anything. But now I'll come out and I'll talk smack about them. But yeah, the copper culture is something that goes way back in Native American history. And they've used copper for many things, including knapping tools, for thousands of years. The antler people still don't like it, but hey, at least we know the truth. Let's see. Ask Jay about places for winter camping, says Ralph. Yeah, that is true. Jay knows everything as far as that goes. He does a lot more road trips than I do. I mean, a lot. And he gives me stone sometimes, so he saves me time. Uh, let's see. Southern Illinois Adventures. Jesse, that billet is awesome. Yeah. Keith Callahan. Yeah, someone may ask what's in the bucket, buddy. And you say, turtles. Talking about portable that 5-gallon toilet. Let's see. Turtles, yeah. Ed Gould says, it could have been the first metal the world used. Probably. Copper. Probably so. That's sometimes you can find it on the surface in nuggets. It's getting more rare, of course. You can't find it on the surface like you used to be able to, but you can still find it on the surface. Yeah. And it doesn't take much to heat it up to make it softer to shape it. And then you heat it up again and then pound it between stones and you can shape it into different things. Yeah, you can shape it into wires because the Native Americans, you can see that they pounded it into long cylinders. They also pounded it into flat sheets. They also made celts, little axes and scraper heads and stuff. They made all kinds and jewelry, beads. They would roll they make a piece of flat copper, or they pound it flat, and then they'd roll it so that they can make a bead out of it. But I think some of them were drilled also, but I think most of the beads were rolled. And they made arrowheads out of rolled copper also. They pound a sheet flat, like a triangular sheet, and then they roll it to go over the top of the end of the arrow. So it was a cone-shaped or a cone arrowhead. That was popular actually in the Northeast and the Great Lakes area back in the day, before European contact. But they also made flat arrowheads out of copper before European contact. Ed Gould says they even used silver. Yeah, I heard that too. And they found gold, and they would make things out of gold, but gold is too soft for flint knapping, as far as I know. I've never tried it, but I imagine it's way too soft for flint knapping. Jesse says, I'm going to reverse the billet. Heavier end is on the back, but texture is way tougher, so I need to hammer the back smooth. It'll be better balanced. Ralph says, Jesse, sorry I haven't seen the float copper billet video. I've been super busy with starting a new job. Jesse says, I saw the article on the 7K years old copper knife found in a Great Lakes region. Okay. All right. It's time for napping. Let's see if I can get the angle of the camera set up. Okay. So I'm going to start napping. I've got heat treated Flint Ridge. We're going to see how it works because I have not napped much of it since the Coshocton nap, and I napped a couple pieces, but that was it. Now is my chance to get used to it. Let's see. Is this going to work? Let's see. More light. More light. Now we have some light. Yes. Okay. So let's see. Back up a little bit. This is my computer's camera, which seems to work okay. So we're going to go. This is the last. I made these two on the last live stream. This one here, I know for sure is Horse Creek. And this one, I'm not sure if it's Horse Creek or Buffalo River. Okay, I made these two on the last live stream. So hopefully I can make something similar. We're going to take a chunk of heat-treated Flint Ridge and nap it. And I'll be ignoring the chat. So you guys will probably have to talk to each other or not talk at all. Brendan is here. Let's see. Okay, so I'll be ignoring the chat because I'll be napping. Okay, so don't get all bent out of shape because I'm not looking at the chat. Yeah. Okay. I know you guys don't get bent out of shape because of that, but just in case. Yeah. And let's see. All right. So this angle is easier for me in two ways. It's probably not the greatest angle because if I put the camera lower, you can see better. But this prevents chips from hitting my computer, my phone, and stuff because the computer's up higher. And also, I can read the chat better. Okay. So I've got some new boppers that I bought from flintknappingsupplies.com. Flintknappingsupplies.com. And did I write the weights? Yes, I did. I remember to write the weights, and they haven't been rubbed off yet. This was like $80 or somewhere around there, and they're solid copper. I'm using solid copper these days instead of lead filled, and I've got some other copper billets, but I'm not using the short copper billets for now because I messed up my knuckle on my index finger. I can't. When I do this, it hurts, and when I'm using that billet, I did something to my knuckle, and I don't want to get arthritis in my knuckle. So I'm switching over to these solid copper head boppers, and this one is 13.5 ounce. I'm not using this one yet. This is for the heavier and larger pieces. I got a big piece of obsidian from Danny Collins. I'll be napping soon, and I'll probably use this plus a couple of Mike Tufts boppers. This one is 8.3 ounces. I have not used this one yet either, although it'll probably be one of my favorites when I start napping chert, raw chert. I'm using mainly this one, 5.3 ounces, and this one, 3.8 ounces, because I'm working on relatively small points, relatively small items. And I've got this small one. It's 2.7 ounces. I hardly ever use something that small, but I can still use it once in a while. So I'm using the 3.8 and the 5.3 ounce on stuff that is about this size, around 3 inches long. Okay, so I'm imagining that this piece is going to be about 3 inches long when I finish. I'm going to try to maximize it.
Don't forget to take the measurement before you start. You're so stupid.
Yeah, I forget quite a bit. This one is 4.5 inches long, something like that. Something like that. Yeah. I'm going to lose a bunch of length on purpose because I like to use the end thinning to get rid of the triangular shape. So that looks really good right there. Now I got to take my sunglasses off and put my reading glasses on and suffer through all this bright light. So let's see if I can get this napped without too much trouble. Hopefully it's not going to wash out the color or the flake scars. We'll see. A lot of times if I nap something a light color, you can't see any of the flake scars. But this one looks like it might be okay. All right. Yeah, that works. It is a heat treat. Yay. So, good. I'm happy that it's a heat treat. Can I use this piece? I might be able to use it for something. But sometimes they're not good quality, these little flakes. They might be full of cracks. I got to be careful. I can probably use that one, but if it has no internal issues, I can make little bitty arrowheads from those, just for the people who cry when it looks like I'm wasting it.
You weigh so much, and I need so much.
Yeah. Sometimes I get comments saying,
you guys don't understand how much I'm begging for stone, and I see you throw away a lot of stuff.
Hey, Jay Valente is here. $1.99 super chat. I'll sneak this since Patrick said he's not looking. You tried to sneak it, but I saw. Oh, yeah, Jay, you got to tell me where the winter campsites are so I can go winter camping this year. I can go winter camping now because, I was taking care of my dad before, so I couldn't go anywhere. But now I can go winter camping. Winter camping is one of my favorites. Why? Because it's a refrigerator. I don't have to worry about my food. Yeah. That's why you like winter camping? No, I just like winter. Yeah. And I was in Texas for more than 30 years and I missed it. Yeah. I used to go sledding and build forts out in the wintertime out in the woods and stuff. No one would mess with them because no one goes out there. I had a good old time when I was a kid in winter making snowmen. Some of my best memories were winter. So I'm trying to get out more in winter time here. So Jay, if you know the camping spots, I want to be asking you for some info. A lot of places around here they close the gate on you so you can't park. Yeah. It's a bummer. So yeah, I need to get used to this. Let me see if I can move this light so we can get some shadows. Yeah, see, it's very steppy and crunchy and brittle. It's nothing like the other stuff I've been napping. So this is going to require a little bit of getting used to. Yeah, it wants to dive too. So it has the best qualities of stone, like the colors and the texture, but it also has the worst qualities of stone, like the diving and snapping and crunching. So yeah, Flint Ridge heat treats. I normally don't like napping this stuff, but I'm trying to get more into napping the exotics so I can do them on video. People want to see how to nap this stuff.
I spent like my whole paycheck on Flint Ridge, and you never nap Flint Ridge. I want to see.
Yeah. Okay, so this is how you do it. You have to suffer at first because it's very crunchy. Sometimes it has lots of inclusions that mess you up. Sometimes the edges crush. It's very crackly and snap and halfish. Yeah. It's not for beginners. Okay, so if you're a beginner and you say,
I want to learn on Flint Ridge, and that's it.
No, don't make that mistake. Learn on something else. Don't learn on Flint Ridge.
I don't like the colors on anything else. The Flint Ridge is what I am attracted to, yeah.
Okay, well, you're gonna suffer. That's all there is to it. If you don't listen, it's not my fault. Okay, so I'm trying to smooth that one side out, although it's getting a little bit too flat. I'm going to nap around the edges a little bit more, get it more convex, and I should be able to retain most of that. Okay, so what is that as far as dimensions? What is that I'm talking about? I'm trying to preserve most of this. And it's, what is it, 4 inches now? So I lost a little bit of length. Okay, so let's see. What do I do? There's a bunch of crud. There's this crystal pocket there. Original surface there. Square edge on the base. This side's not too bad, although there might be some crackling going on the Cortex side. Some issues there. I'll take care of that as soon as I make this flat side more convex by trimming around all the edges. Trimming just means little flakes. Pop little flakes off. I'm going to lose width, yes, but I have to lose the width to move the edge, that way, so I can strike flakes off here because I've already struck them off the ends. I don't want to hit this on the ends too much because it's snap and halfish. I do still need to thin down the base. So I'll probably do that next before I trim the outside. It's stronger when you've got more width when you hit the base. So if I do this in the proper sequence, do more thinning on the base and then trim, because hitting on the base puts bending stresses on it and it's stronger when it's wider. Okay? All right. All that should be pretty obvious. And you don't need a degree in anything to know that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the physics are hard to get correct. I'm going to keep saying that over and over again because I've always got somebody asking me what the physics are. What exactly is going on with the fracture mechanics? Blah blah blah. I don't know, and I don't really want to know because the human brain, we're lucky as a species to have brains that take care of all that stuff for us. It's amazing that the brain has already adapted to storing all the complex and complicated stuff in our subconscious. And all we got to do is keep practicing, and it gets stored internally. And we don't have to worry about it. Amazing how that works. And a lot of people will ask,
why don't you explain it? Explain what you're doing. I want to know why you do this, why you do that, why you do this, why you doing everything.
Look at the results of what I'm getting. This usually tells you why I'm doing it. If I get a flake somewhere, I did that because I wanted that flake. If I did something before something else, it's usually because the procedure is more advantageous. I've learned that over time. It doesn't feel right to be hitting something on the ends when it's snapping half-ish, not because I'm smart. It's because after breaking it in half plenty of times, the brain says, no, and you start to hesitate. You don't know why you hesitate to hit the ends when it's thin. You just know from experience that it's just risky, and that means your subconscious has stored that information, and it resists you trying to do it. Okay. As an example, there's various ways that the subconscious will signal that it's not a good idea or is a good idea, but it's not obvious. And if I want to try to explain it, I got to use a combination of my memories from the past of why I napped in that way, and also try to draw on physics that I know. I know a little bit about physics. So I try to draw on that information as well. But it's difficult to explain because a lot of it is subconscious. I'm going to use the Nacho-matic to hit the step fractures here. See there, that step fracture right there is a prime candidate for using the Nacho-matic to knock that off. I think. It might not be. I've got two Nacho-matics. If you don't know what they are, they're vertical spring-loaded punches. Vertical punches with spring-loaded mechanisms. You can get these from Ted Snyder. I've got two varieties. I got one that's a flathead, one that's a pointed. Flathead, pointed. Okay? That's the business end. The other end, it's got a spring and a cylindrical little hammer. So instead of using a hammer on your like this, let's just pretend this is a hammer. Instead of hitting the vertical punch with a hammer, you just pull. It's a spring load. Okay, in case you didn't know. And you can knock off step fractures with it if it's just right. You can't knock all the step fractures off with it because the diving aspect of flakes will get you sometimes. But if it's thick enough, I can probably knock off the top of that. Let's see. If not, I'll just have to do it the old-fashioned way and try to knock that big old stack from the side. Ooh, that one flew into the next room. See that? It did take off some of that tip just by doing the spring-loaded thing. Let's see if I can show it on video. These flakes are going to fly, yes. No, not that time. I got to watch where they go. That one went all the way into the next room. I can do this one. Maybe show you how it looks. No, it's not doing it. It worries me because sometimes if it doesn't do it, that means they're getting all crackly. They keep flying into the next room, these little flakes. So I did take some flakes off, but this also gets me nervous because, like I said, it could dive. And if this is pretty powerful, even though it looks like it's not, it can drive some pretty powerful flakes. And if I'm not careful, it can probably cut this whole piece in half. Just a little strike here can go down in, instead of going across the top, it can think, oh, the path of least resistance is actually down here, dude, and just cut that whole tip right off. So I'm not going to do it. I tried it a little bit to see, and it was okay, but I'll just have to do it the old-fashioned way. And, move that edge more toward the obstacle on both sides, but not remove too much width yet. I did thin out the base a little bit more, which is good enough, I think. I can't run any more flakes from the tip or the base into there because it's started to stack on both sides. So I'm going to take the indirect percussion flaker now and see if I can hit that in various ways to reduce it down in size. This is 5/16. It's a small one, so I can get in there. Maybe I can make a dent in that stack. It's pretty bad. So I'm going to put the flaker down in there and see if I can pop that out. No, don't kick that stuff over there. Yeah, okay, so that worked. All I did was I put the flaker down in there, and then I hit it. Popped out that flake. Okay, see what I mean? I can't see anything. Oh well. That's all you get. That's all you're going to get. I can try to show you when things go really well. And I can put this stuff back together. I overshot this piece. I overshot the tip, but I also trimmed quite a bit. I hit it there. Okay? It went all the way down and took off some of the tip. So that's what I was saying earlier about taking risks on it, diving. You wouldn't think that the path of least resistance was through the piece. You'd think that the path of least resistance would be going upwards. But a lot of times, flakes take the downward path. I would say more than half the times, they'll take a downward path rather than an upward path. Okay? Flakes like to be curved in one direction. So what is the length now? I lost at least a 1/4 inch because it's not even near 4 inches anymore, right? So I lost 3/8 of an inch so far by thinning the base and losing that overshot. But overshots are wonderful. Yeah, terrible. They're terrible. Don't let anyone tell you that overshots are wonderful unless you don't mind being brainwashed. Yeah. Then you can think that overshots are great. And if you're really receptive and naive, you can think that they're a technology. Yeah. That's the pinnacle of propaganda. That overshots are a technology. Mm-hmm. I don't know how long that'll last. I have a feeling that that idea that overshots our technology is going to last as long as the idea that you can drop water on flint to nap it. Yeah, on hot flint rocks or any kind of rocks and drop water onto hot rocks to nap them. Yeah, that's another myth that keeps persisting, even though it's ridiculous, just like the overshot ridiculousness. Okay. Let's see. I got to focus on this now instead of trying to explain it. Flintknapping is not a skill of explanation. It's a skill of doing. It's not a rhetorical skill. You don't learn stuff by talking about it. You learn stuff by doing it. So I can show you and I can talk about it, but in order for you to do that, you've got to actually do it. All right, so I am trimming it now. Okay. So why am I trimming it? I still need to flatten this other side. It's getting flatter, but I need to flatten it more. And the other side, I've got to make more convex. So I'm just trimming the edges. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, especially on a square edge like that. Come on. It wants to be tough. What is going on? There it goes. Oh yeah, Flint Ridge can be inconsistent, where some spots are easily napped and some spots are not. Like that one spot down here, it did not want to cooperate. But the rest of it's pretty good. It's getting kind of crackly in that area though. I'm just napping it down so that the edge goes this way. And I'm also trying to remove some of the square edge stuff. Okay, so it's in the rough stage right now, but this is the easy part. For me, it might not be the easy part for a lot of people. For me, this is the easy part, and the thinning is when you actually do what I call the real napping. Yeah. Even though thinning is not necessary, you can leave it thick and still have a good tool. But if you're into thinning, that's when the real napping starts. Okay. That's where I think most of the mess ups occur when you start to chase the thin biface. Chasing the thin biface is when you make most of your mistakes. Yeah. And when you're brand new, that's what you want to do at first. How do I thin? Yeah. I got thin flakes. Okay. So that's already thin, but how do I keep it from snapping? Welcome to what everyone deals with. How do you deal with it? The number one rule is practice. Got to break a lot of stuff. Get used to what the material can do. You need to know the limits of the material, and you can't do that without breaking some or breaking everything. It's not a bad thing to break everything as long as you pay attention to why it's breaking and not try to get explanation as to how to do it better. Just learn the limits on the stone and don't push it. Right? Right. No? I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. And I will do some of this Flint Ridge as a tutorial so that you can see what I'm doing in a better view. But for now, I'll just try to quickly get this thinned down. I've already eliminated the major obstacles. All right, so I'm now getting into the preliminary thinning. I've already removed all the square edges a few minutes ago. So that was the first stage. Getting everything bifaced, 60% or more flaked on both sides is what I consider a biface. And all the edges worked with some kind of tool. Let's say 90%. If you leave some of the original stone surface like on that spot, I can still consider this done as far as the first stage of bifacing, even if you leave a little bit of the original stone on the edge. But the preliminary thinning is this stage now where I'm actually driving flakes more than halfway to try to get it thin. And then once I get good convexity and I got the overall shape that I need, I'm going to start the secondary thinning to get it down to 6-to-1 ratio or better. And once I finish the secondary thinning, all that's left is notching and sharpening. Okay. Now I got to be careful not to thin this too much. Yeah, because it looks like it'll snap in half on me. Easily. It feels that way because the flakes are breaking up. You know what I'm saying? I'm not getting really long flakes. Even the ones I'm saving, I'm lucky to get a longish flake. They usually break like this. They're not longish. But we'll see. This is not a big piece, so we'll see. It could be just that this is not a big piece. That's why I'm not getting long, complete flakes. But when the flakes are breaking all up, as an example, I'm just letting you know, you can pretty much bet on it being all snap in half-ish. Yeah. If the flakes are snapping in half, the work piece will probably snap in half if you get it too thin. All right. So I'm working on the ends. I usually try to thin down the tip first by habit. Same old every time. Do the tip first. Make sure there's no curve in the whole piece. It can get curved if you take too much off. So I thin that down. Now I got to thin down the base and make sure there's no curves anywhere. Make sure I have a very distinct center line existing in the piece. I got to make sure I can visualize a good center line throughout the whole piece. Right now it's thickest in the middle where it should be, but I'm going to thin more of the base, but I got to make sure the base doesn't go this way or that way. It stays along the center line. You know what I mean? And you can send flakes from the side to thin the base, or send flakes up straight up. Yeah. Or slanted. You can hit from the base slanted. Directly like this, like fluting a Clovis, is the most dangerous type of base thinning because it has a tendency to dive unless you have a lot of convexity this way. That's why a lot of Clovises are thick. because it needs the convexity to run that long thinning flake or that flute. If it's really, really thin, it's not that convex. You can't get a lot of convexity in something really thin. So the flutes are short by necessity on something really thin. Now you can say, no, I've seen Clovises that are long and fluted all the way and thin. Yeah, a lot of times they're just napping around the thinning flake instead of preforming it and then do the thinning flake. A lot of times they'll do the thinning flake and then they'll preform around it. Because you'll see one long flake on one side and a shorter one on the other. Sometimes you'll see two long ones, and those are due to luck. Yeah, I'm convinced that if you see a perfect Clovis with long flakes on both sides or long flutes on both sides, that napper was having a lucky day. Oh, yes. So, one good thing about Flint Ridge is that it notches easily. So, I don't have to worry too much about getting the base all that thin. Yeah, it takes time. It took me a long time to get to the point where I can make flakes like that. To thin down the piece. That's the goal in many cases. But I like to do the wide flakes and not the long, narrow. How do you get long, narrow flakes? You have to use a smaller striking area, probably a smaller tool. This is a 3/8, and something that has a little bit more of a shock absorbing quality to it, because it has to maintain contact with that platform, that striking area, to generate constant force, or you just have to use heavy pressure, because pressure helps you keep contact with the point of applied force and the initiation of the flake for longer than a percussion strike. The key to long, narrow flakes is maintaining contact with the point of applied force, maintaining the contact. That'll drive the flake. Okay? I'm trying to get better at doing that with the Cody points. Okay? Why is it difficult? Because it requires more muscle. In the case of pressure flaking, a lot more muscle than normal, regular pressure flaking, like when you sharpen it, as an example. Okay? There are different kinds of pressure flaking depending on the type of point style you're making. And different kinds of percussion. It might look the same as far as the tool and the mallet and the angles and all that are the same. They're just subtle differences in learning how to maintain contact with the point of applied force. Okay, very subtle differences. One of them is you can apply pressure and then strike. It helps to maintain contact with the point of applied force if you add some pressure beforehand. Okay? Because that will carry through, the extra pressure will carry through the strike, as an example. And you won't notice that just by watching in many cases. Now, some people are very observant. They understand that if they see that I'm doing this, there's a lot of pre-pressure, they'll say, okay, it must be so he can keep contact with the point of applied force to generate a longer flake, or maybe it's just the nature of the stone that it works better that way. But normally I just seed it enough to be firm. I don't put a lot of pre-force, or I don't use pressure-assisted percussion in most cases. pressure assisted percussion. There's also percussion assisted pressure. You can look at it either way. You can look at it either, if I do this with a lot of pressure, this is either pressure assisted percussion or percussion assisted pressure. There are differences in that. There are technical differences in that, but for the most part, you can look at it either way. Okay? But I'd hardly ever use it. I don't use a pressure assist. In most cases. All right, so I have to keep thinning. And I'm using the large flake technique, not a bunch of little narrow ones. I could try to do a bunch of little narrow flakes, but I'd rather just strike off bigger flakes and take the risk. It's less risky to generate smaller, more narrow, and more longer flakes. I've learned that it is slightly less risky to do it that way, but it requires more of a concentration on the surface quality, the edge quality, the pressure assist, and yada, yada, yada. There's a bunch of different considerations. Anyways, if I start thinking about something that I'm not doing, it messes me up. On that one, I did do the technique of long flake removal, long narrow. Okay, because I've learned to hit from either the tip or the base. It gives you a chance to generate longer flakes, because as you work against the mass of itself, it works better from the base or tip because there's more mass in this direction than in this direction. I use the mass of the workpiece against itself, so that's another consideration on generating longer flakes. Having the mass behind it also helps to increase the length of the flake. And that most obviously is apparent in generating blades from large cores. Like if I wanted to generate some blades off of this, I would have a large mass behind every strike that helps to generate longer flakes when you have more mass behind the strike. Okay, all right. But like I said, I don't want to get into it. All right, so I'm just gonna thin this down some more. This is the risky part. I don't want to interfere with my muscle memory by trying to analyze everything. After thousands of hits, I just go by feel. And making a good flake and making a bad flake looks the same as far as the angles, the technique, the forces, the strategic planning. Everything's the same, but you can make a mistake just by subtle differences. And you won't see it in a video like this. And I can try to explain it, but I could also be wrong in my explanation. Just slightly wrong enough to throw you off, so it won't help you. So it's best for you to just practice and pay attention, of course. Pay attention to what you're doing. See, another kind of longish. It's right there. But those long ones are usually taken from the tip or the base. I can do long ones from the side, but it's a little bit more dicey because it overshoots more easily than trying to do this thinning from the base or the tip. I don't have much of a risk of overshooting this way, but you've also got to have a lot of convexity. So I'm hitting into the thicker area when I'm doing these longer flakes. Okay, all right. A lot of guys want to try to do the longer flakes on the flat when it's already thin. On a flat, you're going to get wider flakes. So plan on wide flakes on a flat and not very convex. Okay? And hopefully they won't dive. What time is it? Oh, 2 more minutes. That's all I got. I usually nap for 45 minutes and then get back into the chat. So let me try to finish this up. And I'll take a measurement on the ratio and all that stuff. Width to thickness ratio. And overall measurements of the length and width. Give you an assessment on the quality of the material. And show you any defects that I found. Or spots that seem to be harder spots than others. That kind of thing. And I'll try to see if there's some translucencies. Sometimes there's a pocket of translucency in the Flint Ridge, which is kind of cool. Yeah, it's so nice when it cooperates. Yes, it is. Luckily, this turned out to be a good piece, even though it started out as a chunker. Yeah. Sometimes chunkers are nasty inside. Let's see, can I see what's going on? Also, it's hard for me to see what's going on because of the lighting situation we have. I can see much better in a first-person view video. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it's good. It's starting to get flat, so I'm starting to get little step fractures here and there. So that's it. So what I got, let's see if I can show. Take the glove off so I don't drop this. This is a piece that if I drop it, it'll probably snap. If I drop it like onto an abrader or something like that. All right. So this is what it looks like. Combination of short flakes and long flakes. Mostly wide flakes. There's a few that might be more narrow and long. But for the most part, I do the wide flat flakes. As it starts to get thinner, I will occasionally run a long flake, but remember those long flakes from this tip up here? I hit from the sides and got a different flake scar pattern. When you start hitting in from the sides, you overlap the longer flakes and they disappear. Okay. And I started getting some stepping in the middle. But for the most part, the flakes will carry to at least halfway and a little more. So with heat treatment, that's one of the advantages is with the flakes, it'll travel past the center, among other advantages like It feels sharper sometimes and generally overall easier to nap. It also evens out the hard spots and soft spots, so to speak. It makes everything soft. There's still a crystal pocket here on this side there. Let's see if I can get the. That's I can't sharpen that up, so it's going to have to go away eventually. So I'll take back this side more. Unfortunately, that crystal pocket is right on the edge. Let's see if I can show you if it's translucent. Let's see. I don't know. Can I show a translucency? Yeah. See how translucent that crystal pocket is? You can see it right there. Up here, it's not. It's a little bit of translucency, but right there where that crystal pocket is, you can see a lot of translucency. Unfortunately, those don't. They don't help you when they're on the edge. In the middle, it doesn't matter too much. Is there anything else? Yeah, there's some. That's a translucent area right there. But as it gets thicker, it loses its translucency. Okay. Anyway, it's cool material. This one is not that colorful, but it has some pinks and off-white ivory colors. It's got the crystal pockets. It's got that vein of crystallization going through it. It's got this weird discoloration there, which is also not easy to nap because it's got some kind of hard inclusion in that. I'll probably finish this off camera so I don't break it. The ratio of this one is it's 45 millimeter by 8. What is that? It's between 5-1 and 6-1. Okay. I can thin it down a little bit more. Get it to about 6-1, but that's about as thin as I want to get it. Okay. I don't want to get it much thinner than 6-1 because it has a chance of snapping in half pretty easily. Okay. And if I get it thinner than that, the convexity gets less and less and it becomes very flat. The thinner it is, the better the ratio of width to thickness, the flatter it is, the harder it is to run clean flakes across it. Okay? Where am I? There I am. Let's see if we can get back into the chat. 9 more minutes. The stream is over in 9 minutes. Sal says, looks okay to me. Nice looking stone. Yep, it's nice looking stuff. Let's see if I can get some light on it. Light on the situation. No. I like it. I better like it. I spent money on it. I don't know. If my new camera doesn't give me better color, I'm going to be ticked. Yeah, it better give me better color on my new camera. Let's see. What do we got? Someone just switched to fiber. You mean fiber communications? Let's see. Yeah, the vid is grainy because I'm using the computer's camera. So it's going to be a grainy, less quality video. Adam. Yeah, it's not your service. It's the graininess of the, quality of the camera producing the graininess. Unfortunately, yeah. Let's see. Fertile Joe is here. Adam is here. Gary is here. Let's see. Like that colorful fiber optic glasses that nap nice. Ralph asks, does a colorful fiber optic glass snap well? I think it does, yes. I have not heard many complaints about the fiber optic glass. In fact, I've heard mostly compliments. Yeah. I'm going to save some of these flakes. Some of these Flint Ridge flakes. Yeah. All right. So, I can't forget this one. One of the bigger ones. What do I do with those little ones? I'm saving them up in case I need to make small arrowheads for some reason. Gary says, how long did it take you to build that rock wall behind you? Let's see. I think it took 20 minutes because it's just a vinyl photography backdrop. Druzy pockets, says Ralph. You're losing me. I don't understand what some of this stuff is. Bushy says, Ralph, I made 2 opalized glass knives, sold quick for $75 each. Goodness gracious, that's a good price. Ed Gould says fiber optic is very fragile. Yeah, welcome to the Fragile Nappers Anonymous. Let's see. What kind of camera do you use, Patrick? It's on my computer. It's just the computer's camera. The webcam built into it. This is a laptop. Yeah, it's not a desktop. It's a laptop computer with a little built-in webcam. Gary says, I need a chipmunk sticker to put up there. Yeah, I need a chipmunk. I'm going to put a shelf up here, probably up on this level, and then stick all my figurines up on top. Yeah, I'll probably put a shelf right across along this line here so I can show all the figurines. I've got a bunch of them. Well, I got 2 to start with. I got other ones too. This is the possum and skunk. I bought the spray paint to put primer on these so I can paint them. And they'll go up on the shelf up here. Eventually, and whatever else I can think of. John Elmiger, hey John, he says, I could have said the wall was my napping rock storage. Yeah. Or my vault. I've got all my rocks behind this vault. It's 4 feet thick, stone like a castle wall, so no one can get to my stash. That's better. Let's see. Is the Christmas tree a plastic vinyl also? No, it's a real artificial. Yeah. It's got the built-in lights. I learned after years and years of decorating the Christmas tree with lights and putting them around that just buy one with lights built in. It's so much easier and it looks so much better because I don't have to work at it. Everything easy is better. Let's see. Ralph says, yes, how long for the rock wall? Patrick dug those rocks out of his yard. Yeah, I wish. But the rocks from my yard are gray. They're not this color. Prairie Ghost Ken says, okay, I just got a cheaper USB 4K webcam. No, I bought a DSLR camera, Sony, used on eBay from an electronics seller. And the real one, the new one is twice as much. This one was half price. And I think it's like 10 years old. But the cameras that we have at home or at my other house, we have Sony cameras that are 15 years old. They work fine still. Mike Tuff says, sell the rocks on your wall. The shipping will be really cheap. Yeah. Yeah. Bushy says, last December I had to walk out in 2 foot snow and drag two trees back to my truck in a blizzard. I want a fake tree. Yeah, and this is what they call a skinny tree. See, it's not very wide. Make sure you get a skinny one. That way it doesn't block your way to move around. See, I've got my kitchen back there. Where is it? See, that's my stove. If it was a big tree, I'd have to walk around this and it'd be in the way. But it's a skinny one. I like it. It's one of my favorite trees that I've ever had. So I'm keeping it up all year. Okay? I got to get more ornaments. And I bought some lights to light up the arrowheads. They're little bitty lights. They take a small battery, and I can mount this with like hot glue or something to the back of the arrowhead. Or I'll make something, and it'll light up the little arrowheads. And I can hang them on my tree. Yeah, these are for like doll houses and dioramas. I don't know which is a flashlight side. I think that's, I don't know. And the batteries are in here too. There's three batteries in this little pack. They're not expensive. So I'll be making that or making those ornaments soon. Ferdo Joe says, you had to water that tree? Well, unless I want to wash it, no. Artificial pre-lit trees, pine set candles, problem solved. There you go. Yes. It's easy to get the pine scented candle with a lid on it. You just pop the lid off, light it up, and if you want to put it out, just pop the lid back on. There's no when you put the candles out, you know how that it continues to smolder? You get that wick smell. No wick smell if you have a lid. You have a lid to put on it. It's perfect. Gary says it will grow bigger. The tree's not going to grow bigger. Ralph says Flintknapping is like pedaling a unicycle while juggling a basketball. Uphill. Have you tried it? How do you know? I don't know. Let's see. Bushy says, I bought my wife flowers on our first Easter. I went to water them a few days later and they were fake. I didn't know. Dang. I bet she knew right away. And if she didn't tell you, that means she's a good wife. Because usually they go, wait a second, this is not real. What do you do? I think, women, they like the flowers that wilt and look terrible after a few days. That's my theory. Really? No. But anything real is, it symbolizes realness. Yeah. You give something fake and it's like it symbolizes fakeness. If you're married, your wife's not going to want anything fake. No. Nothing fake. Everything's got to be real. At least in my experience. Ferdo Joe says, this was 25 years ago. All right, I'll cut you some slack. You probably didn't know. Like the rest of us 25 years ago. It's funny because people say youth is great. Yeah, youth is only great if your brain works right. My brain was not working right. The younger I go back in time, the worse my brain was working. I had to come up with all kinds of workarounds and self-training and self-improvement and self-discipline to get over my autism and my ADHD for the most part. I still am struggling with it. But yeah, I'd rather have my brain now than I had when I was 20 or 22. 40 years ago, I was clueless. Absolutely clueless. Yeah. So youth is no good without a good brain. No. Ralph says, happy wife, happy life. Well, you can switch that around too. If you make your life happy, your wife will be happy too. You don't need her to be happy first. I've learned that. Sometimes trying to make her happy first is making you miserable. Yeah. How do I know? I don't know. Yeah, see, Adam says the same thing. Not always. Yeah. It depends on what makes her happy, too. Because if making you miserable makes your wife all giggly, that's not a happy life. Yeah. That's right, Adam. Everyone needs to be happy in their relationship. Sal says, I'm not saying nothing. Okay, the live stream is over, so we can talk about anything. I'm waiting to see if someone shows up. Hey, everybody. How's it going? I made it. I made it on time to be 5 minutes late. We'll see. Gary says, I plead the fifth. Yeah, don't be talking too much. See, I can talk now. I'm divorced and living the life of a hermit, so I can talk. Let's see. Sal says, those are my favorite people. Ed Gould says, 54 years. I'm assuming you've been married for 54 years. Dang. Bushy says, I wish I found her back before I met my first wife. Yeah. I think you told me that already before at the Knapping. All right, so Mike Mason says goodbye. Yeah, I'm gonna sign off here. Sal says, I'm talking about the people that come in when it's over. Oh, okay. The ones okay. Sal's favorite people are the ones that come in after the live stream's over. Gary says, good, it's over. Time for the door prize drawing. Yeah, I wish. Ralph Snyder says 30 years. I was married for 26 years. Why was I married for 26? Because I didn't want it to be 27. Yeah. I say the same thing about my kids. I have 6 children. Why do I have 6 children? Because I didn't want 7. Let's see. Adam says, we only know something is terrible because we experienced it. Yeah. Gary says 33 years. Man, you guys got me all beat. Frodo Joe says 20 the first wife and 23 to my great wife. There you go. Adam says, we only know something is good because of the bad. Yeah, well, I don't know. It depends on how bad you're talking about. So, yeah, that's it. I don't think anyone's coming in at the last minute or after hours. Yeah, we close the doors, dude. Sometimes someone was knocking on the door to get into the club. Dude, we're closed. Yeah, but I see people in there. Look at all them people. I mean, Sal's in there, Mike's in there, Ed's in there, Ralph's in there, Gary's in there. I want in. No, it's too late. It's over. We're closed. Miller time, 4 p.m. Yeah, it's almost beer 30. And I got to go to the post office and talk to the people about sending stuff or receiving stuff from Kazakhstan. Let's see. Adam says, have a great day, guys. I'm just waking up. Got the day off and stuff to do. Okay. Yeah. Next live stream is Friday, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern. Yeah. And if you get confused on the time zones, just go like this, go whatever you got, Google or Siri, just what time is it my time when it's 8 p.m. Eastern? I do that because one of my sons does that. He'll go like this to ask a question or to type, and then his eyebrows go up when he's wanting to receive the information, and they'll go down when he's asking. Take care, everybody, says Mike Tufts. Yep, take care. Hope to see you guys next time on Friday. Everybody have a good rest of their day. Good to see everybody, and bye-bye.